Michael Savage.
There's nothing better than I can do for Veterans Day than try to help a veteran whose dog was stolen by the U.S. military. Welcome to the Savage Nation. This is a huge story, and it's going to be a bigger story by the time we get through with it on the Savage Nation today. And it's about a stolen war dog. You want to hear the story? The other day I was reading the New York Post, and Maureen Callahan wrote an article entitled Soldier's Hero Dog Stolen by Military. It's not that long a story. You want to pay attention to it for 1 minute, please? Do you know how important a dog is to most people? Well, now magnify that by a factor of, 10 to a returning veteran who was injured in combat along with the dog, both of whom were injured when a roadside improvised explosive device planted by the Islamo-fascists detonated, injuring both the Czech German Shepherd named Matty and specialist Brent Gromit. Are you ready for this one? As they flew back to the United States, Mr. Gromit slept on top of Matty's crate in the airplane. They were locked together at the hips. They landed at an Air Force base in New Jersey, and the two were separated, which was standard operating procedure. Mr. Gromit wasn't worried, though, because according to Army regulations, if he wanted his dog Matty, he had the sole right to adopt his military war dog. This right is known as Robbie's Law and was signed by President Clinton in 2000. Well, Mr. Gromit had filled out the adoption paperwork in the Middle East, and he handed it over to a private firm that then contracted with the Army on canine issues entitled K2 Solutions. Well, they took his dog Matty away for an examination, and that was the last he ever saw the dog. He says a Lieutenant Colonel Richard Vargas absconded with the dog, and the military has done nothing to make it right. As you can hear, my dog Teddy is barking in the background, and I know what it's like to lose a dog. It is like someone stealing your kid right in front of your eyes, according to Mr. Gromit. Mr. Gromit is 23 years old. He came back from Afghanistan fighting for us with traumatic brain injury, hearing loss, spinal cord injury. He's in daily pain, many surgeries. And his dog Matty calmed his mood swings. His father, Don, will join us on the show in about the bottom of the hour, because they've been fighting to try to get the dog back for a long time now, and no one will answer him. His father, Don, who's a paramedic, called every military base in the United States that handles military working dogs. Nobody would answer him. Finally, he reached someone at Fort Bragg. He was given a runaround until he got an anonymous tip from a civilian employee on base who whispered and said, "I have no control over this. You need to talk to Richard Vargas." And she hung up. Mr. Vargas, the lieutenant colonel, was in charge of military dog adoptions. Well, Don, his father, got Vargas on the phone. And here's what Vargas said to the father. He said, "I adopted the dog out legally, so there's nothing you could do about it." And then he hung up on him. My friends, today we're going to devote an hour of this show to you, to the soldier's hero dog stolen by the military. Are you listening to me? My dog is excited by this story, but in a moment he'll stop barking and you'll start calling, because we're going to have with us Maureen Callahan of the New York Post in a few moments to give us a few more details on this stolen dog. In fact, Maureen is with us right now. Miss Callahan, thank you so much for this story. This is so appropriate for Veterans Day. Is there any update for my audience?
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I couldn't agree with you more. We have no updates yet as to where Matty might be, why he's missing, who's got him, why.
Mr. Gromit's father will be on the show at the bottom of the hour. The man has been trying his best to help his son get the dog back, but everyone's giving him a runaround. Do you think this dog was just sold for profit? What's your gut feeling, Maureen?
My gut feeling is that the dog has not been sold for profit. It seems that, so this is how far the inquiry went up, thanks to Don Gromit's doggedness. It went up to General John Campbell, who is now the commander of forces in Afghanistan. And he investigated on behalf of the Gromits, told them that the dog was still in the Fort Bragg, Fayetteville area, but he either could or would tell them no more than that.
So the dog is in the Fort Bragg area. What does that mean? He gave it to someone else? Vargas gave it away?
The Gromits believe that Vargas either kept the dog for himself or adopted the dog out to a family member or a close friend, because there's no other explanation in their minds as to the secrecy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, is it true that the soldier Brent has been threatened? Who threatened him?
Brent, both grommets were talking to me as late as Friday. I was filing the piece on Friday, and Brent then told me that he had been pulled aside by two majors who knew my name, knew he had already spoken to me. How they knew that, I have no idea. Told him to stop talking to me, and that if he continued, he would be looking at Fort Leavenworth.
What? They're threatening to put an injured war veteran in Leavenworth for wanting to get his dog back?
You know, it sounds absurd, but yes, that's what Brent.
Oh, this is bad. This is bad, Maureen. Here's what I'm doing. I've alerted my attorney at the Savage Legal Fund. We're going to use whatever funds we have and needed to get this dog back. We're going to find out who stole the dog, and if they broke the law, we're going to have them punished to the full extent of the law. This is an outrage. You have to agree with me. I mean, you must be a dog lover to have written this article. Is that true?
I am a dog lover. My father is a veteran. Both Brent and Maddie and their plights are extremely close to my heart. So, and I have to tell you, Michael, that this story has generated incredible reader response, more than I've seen in quite some time, with everyone asking what they can do to help. And I've forwarded to your producer the centralized people that your listeners can lobby.
Yeah, I have that list going up on michaelsavage.com. It strangely includes John McCain. He'll be the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Maybe he'll do the right thing this time for us, and he can look into this. John's a powerful man. The Army Chief of Staff, General Ray Odierno, has a Facebook account. We have a tweet account. You've given all of us that. We're going to put it up on michaelsavage.com. We're just starting now. We are going to get this dog back. Here's what really troubles me, and this is what worries me, and maybe you can help me with this. Do you think raising this issue is liable to put the dog in danger?
I think if anything happens to this dog and this dog can't be retrieved, I think it will be an even larger story.
Do you think that they could kill this dog, bury it, and make believe they don't know what happened? That's what I'm worried about.
You know, honestly, my mind hasn't gone there. I think whoever has this dog knows that it's wrong. And
well, wait a minute. Let's back up for the listeners, Maureen. They may not know what we're talking about. Guy comes back from Afghanistan injured. His dog was injured with him in an IED attack. The guy sleeps on the crate with the dog on an airplane. That's how much he loved him. They separate him from his dog on arrival. He's not worried. He signed the papers. According to law signed by Bill Clinton in 2000, Robbie's Law, he's allowed to have his Army dog afterwards, but they never gave him back, and there's a villain involved here in my estimation, and the villain is a lieutenant colonel who won't return the dog. It's as simple as that.
That's correct, and for months, Brent was given the runaround by the military. He was assured repeatedly that they had his dog, that they had his adoption papers, that he could come pick Maddie up in February. They call in February to pick up the dog. They hear nothing back. In March, they get a call. An anonymous tip from a civilian on base who says, I can only tell you that you need to call Lieutenant Colonel Richard Vargas. She actually did not use his military rank in that phone call, and I've since heard that he's now a civilian, and he is working at the Pentagon.
Amazing. In the Pentagon, doing God's work in the Pentagon, I would imagine. The father and I communicated last night. He's a paramedic who works all day. He's going to be on this show at the bottom of the hour. I hope you can listen on WABC New York. He said to me that they offered $10,000 for the dog and a new puppy that they would train for free. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that, and that offer was also met with complete silence. You know, I mean.
All right, so Maureen, here's what bothers me. Whoever took the dog has now been offered $10,000, a puppy with full training. So is this dog worth more than $10,000?
You know, I mean, clearly, this dog is priceless to Brent. You know, they went.
Yes, of course. I'm saying that, but dollars and cents wise, the dog isn't worth more than $10,000.
The dog can't be used in any sort of military or law enforcement capacity. He's injured. He's just like a soldier who's injured. You know, and I don't quite know. You know, I asked the grommets this because I said, what is it about Maddie? Why would someone arbitrarily pick this animal? What are his special?
Yes. You know, what's the answer?
They said, we have no idea why they picked Maddie. None. So.
Well, here's what worries me. I have a much darker view of human nature than you do. You sound like a young, nice person. I'm not a young, nice person. I have a very dark sense of humanity. I have a terrible fear that they've already done something to this dog, which is why they wouldn't take $10,000 and a puppy in exchange for him. I'm terrified that this dog is gone.
Well, listen, I think the best way to find out the answer, however pleasant or unpleasant it may be, would be for the public to keep applying pressure to those individuals who have the means to flush out Richard Vargas at the Pentagon and find out what happened to this dog. And God,
absolutely. And you're going to keep the pressure up. I'm going to keep the pressure up. The people are probably going to, jump on this case now because of you. The show is going to push it farther. Other hosts, I hope, will pick up on it and run with it. Is this a case? I know this sounds crazy. It's a military case. Could the FBI assign an individual to investigate this?
I don't know how that sort of works, who has jurisdiction over what. But, anybody who has been in the military, come up against the military, knows that the military sort of has its own legislation, its own rules. It's a body unto itself. It does what it wants, and you come up.
Okay, but there's a Naval Intelligence Service. There are investigative services within the military that could do this for the soldier and for the sake of the American people on Veterans Day especially. You know and I know that they have read your article, right? I mean, have you been contacted by the Defense Department?
No, which I find very interesting. Because there's nothing to object to in that article.
Well, right now we've provided links on michaelsavage.com to those in the government that listeners can contact. All they've got to do is go on my website and click on the Help Find Maddie, and we've got it. There it is. There's a picture of the soldier on a helicopter with the dog when he was still healthy. And if you click on Help Find Maddie, I don't make a dime off this. I'm not looking to make any money. We've got General Ray Odierno's Facebook page. We've got his tweet page. We've got McCain's phone number. We've got McCain's email. We've got all sorts of things that people can do just by clicking some mice at home to try to get Maddie back for Specialist Brent Gromit. And I want to thank you, Maureen, for doing this story. I'm a dog lover, number one, but who doesn't love our troops? And who doesn't want to help a heartbreaking story like this be less heartbreaking? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I agree, and thank you, Michael, for everything you're doing to push this story forward, and to your listeners, who I hope will jump on the bandwagon and help.
Are you doing? I understand you're doing a follow-up story this Sunday. Is that true?
Hoping to do a follow-up story. I'm still working on it. We'll see what develops. It's only Tuesday, so.
Well, I think that something's going to happen now that it's on a national show where there's an awful lot of listenership. Maureen Callahan of the New York Post, thank you so much on Veterans Day. When I come back, we're going to ask some questions that are very worrisome. And at the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Sergeant Gromit's father on, Don, who's been trying his